You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave, Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris Aceto, on this April 26th, 2020 evening. And Chris, we have nothing to talk about.
Well,
the show's over.
It's another week.
Remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio.
But truth hurts. See you.
Night,
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Actually, the 27th.
Well,
Sorry,
you know, we're just another week in quarantine.
Yeah.
It's just now people are calling me, like my cousin's calling me. I'm like, I haven't heard from him forever, you know. The good thing, he's got a farm with animals. People run out of food.
There you go. Speaking of animals, Logan was feeding the chickens today.
Do you see that he had to destroy 2 million chickens?
I was going to get to that story yet, but I wanted to segue into it first. Yeah. Let me see if I can pull up that little graphic. Yeah, Logan was. He goes next door to the two women who live next door to me.
Yeah,
and they have like a separate little house there, and their mother. That's not what I wanted. That's Anderson Cooper. That's not what I wanted. And their mother, the older lady, like lives there with the father during like the winter months because they're from up north. And he likes to go in there, and they spoil him. It's like he's like another set of grandparents he's got there. So he's like, he runs away from us. We turn around. We're like, where the hell did he go? He runs around the fence, and we have a big piece of property. Yeah. I'm like, where the fuck did he go? And I know I'm going to get yelled at. He's over at the neighbors in their house. And they got chickens.
Let him go.
Yeah.
Let him go and enjoy himself over there. Let him tire himself out and come home. And
I know. They got chickens over there. So let me see here. Hold on.
Oh, let's see. Is this him running over there?
That's him feeding the chickens.
Oh my God. What a good place for him to grow up with chickens and the
Yeah, my wife's like, we need chickens. I'm like, I don't want chickens. We could say, oh, look, we get some breeding efforts going on.
Oh my gosh. X-rated.
Yeah. He's like, they're just wrestling with each other.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Dad, look at the wrestling. WWE style.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we don't want that. Okay. So he's over there feeding these chickens, and I'm thinking, everyone, the neighbors are bragging to me about how healthy the eggs are, and I'm thinking, well, they would be if because they graze, on the grass and stuff like that. But I'm like, my son's feeding him Cheerios. Yeah, so he feeds them so many Cheerios. Probably their eggs. You'll probably get heart disease from eating these chickens' eggs. Yeah. I said they're only healthy if you have to eat a natural diet, not when they're eating Cheerios every day. My son has fed them so many Cheerios when the people's. I went and bought them 2 boxes of Cheerios because I felt bad.
Oh, he must love it that they take his food. That they're his little pets.
Oh yeah,
he's bored with the dogs and the cats and the snakes and
he can kill us about that.
And the fish and the what else you got over there?
They always want what they don't have. Don't you know the old
Of course,
story?
That's why I said he's bored with the dogs and the cats and the You got to get him something like a little baby lion or.
Yeah, well, that's all he needs, right? So then to segue, I couldn't believe it, but someone sent me that chicken story. Now they killed 2 million chickens in Delaware and Maryland because they don't have enough people to work at the processing plants.
Think of that, 2 million.
2 million, not
200,000.
Right. Now, what's crazy about that, Chris, is the fact that I know, like a lot of my clients, and I don't know if you know of yours, throughout the country who can't get chicken or can't get like meat. Like, the supermarket's out. I don't know what to use. Should I use canned tuna? Where I am, there's no lack of food. I don't know, but evidently there's other places around the country that don't have enough chicken breasts. Crazy, right?
Yeah, no,
killing these chickens off.
I got a deep freezer on order. It's coming, I think, Tuesday. So I.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, because I went to the grocery store last week and I couldn't believe. I got 4 kids.
Right.
And I went to the meat section, ground beef and steak, and there was like nothing there. Nothing.
Oh, so you guys have you do have a deficit there.
Well, last week there was. I went today and it was pretty full, but I didn't have the freezer yet. Otherwise, I would have stocked up. And of course, I went by the toilet paper is out just because people like me, we go and like if it was there because it's always empty, I'd buy like 50 rolls.
You know what? I purposely don't buy it. I was there. They had it the other day. I did not buy the big pack at Sam's Club because I didn't need it, but I needed my paper towels. So you know what I did? They're only one per customer. You know, they're big things, but I use a lot because I put all the snakes on paper towels. So I got 2 of them. I said, I'm not leaving the supermarket without 2 because they never have them, right?
Yeah.
I get up to the front of the line and there's like this 70-year-old lady at least.
You wear a mask?
Yeah, I wear a mask.
Species mask or just a regular mask?
I wear the Physique Bodywear USA.com mask that they sent me. Yeah. And I go up to get to the front of the line. I said to this old lady, I said, listen, I said, would you mind buying this roll of paper towels for me? I said, if I don't go home with 2 rolls, my mother-in-law needs it. I said, I'm going to get yelled at. She's like, no problem. I said, here's $20. She's like, it's not $20. It's less. I said, just don't worry, keep it.
Yeah. You don't want to be yelled at.
Well, I just wanted to show appreciation. So she's like, fine.
Okay.
So as she's like checking out in front of me, she says, I just realized something. Do they check your receipt when you leave the store? So I'm gonna have to meet you out front. I'll just wait for you until you get out there to give you the paper towels. I said, oh, I didn't even think about that. I said, thank you. With my luck, they would have thought I was stealing the roll of paper towels. So I get out. She checks out. I check out. I get to the front. By the way, I love the fact that you don't touch any groceries anymore. They just do everything for you because they don't, there's the 6 foot thing rule, which is great. I don't have to do anything. I just push my cart full of fucking stuff and they take the stuff out. They bring it up and everything. So I walk out the front door and she's waiting there. And I say, thank you. And I take my paper towels. I say, I feel like we're doing a drug deal or something like that. She's like, I know. It's the greatest.
Got it on video.
She was like a really cool old lady. And I told my wife when I got home, I told the man, I said, this way. She's like, I can't believe you did that. Like she was there, she would have been mortified, like embarrassed by you doing it,
Of course.
But I could get the 2 rolls. So anyway.
You had to improvise in a big way.
That's right. But the chicken thing, I don't know. It's crazy. But you know what? If you can't get chicken, go to the chickenpound.com. Our good friend Carlo Filipponi. He's got chicken still. You can buy the chicken. It's already pre-made. It's frozen. I have my whole freezer is loaded up with his chicken pound stuff. I love it.
I saw a guy in Maine who's got, you can order online fresh meats. He's got a farm. He's like this is his second. He's in his late 50s, early 60s. Retired executive, decided, what, I always wanted to have a farm. And so he opens up a farm maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and he's sending out beef. Most of the orders, of course, are like to Westport, Connecticut, Manhattan. It's expensive.
Sure.
He does now more in one day than he used to do in an entire month.
Wow. I bet he would have gone down. He would have gone down to Maryland and taken those chickens off their hand, I'm sure.
Got a U-Haul, throw them in the back, and
we're the biggest wasters in this country. You know what the truth is? There's no lack of anything in this world. I got news for you. There is no lack of any resource. We create the lack purposely to inflate prices, to make people panic. Come on. Are you kidding me? 2 million chickens, but yet the grocery stores don't have any chicken in. I think they're doing it on purpose. No, they do it on purpose, Chris. They want us to be.
It's a cabal.
Panicking.
It's a cabal. I think maybe Jeff Bezos and Larry King, not Larry King, the Microsoft guy.
Yeah.
Maybe they're in on it. And
the government is obviously paying the farmers to kill those chickens. They're not just killing their own chickens.
Yeah. Well, they're paying people to stay home right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're at a farm that has 2 million chickens, are you gonna say, "Oh, you know what? We're just gonna kill them. We'll lose all that profit"? No way. I'm getting people. Believe me, I can get people to work if I have to.
Yeah.
So I don't believe it. I think it's all like a hoax. I really do. I think that we're being manipulated to being. They want to keep us in fear and panic. That's the
we always have something to keep us in fear and panic. There's always something. Post 9/11, right? They had the Patriot Act, which you could basically give up all your rights for security.
Right. You're right. 100% right.
You know, now they want us to wear little watches that you see it like in manufacturing plants. They have Dave Palumbo's working next to Chris Aceto, who's working next to Amanda Palumbo, and they got to stay 6 feet apart, but they got to wear a little thing around their wrist, and it beeps and it tells the, people who run the plant.
Yeah.
Dave and Chris just got 5 feet apart, or Amanda and Dave just got 3 feet apart.
Oh, yeah. Who knows? Probably. Yeah. They have them in China.
Yeah. Well, they have 200 million cameras in China. No policemen. They don't need them. I was there. I told you one of the first things my wife asks is, "Where's the policeman?"
Right. Isn't that interesting?
And it's interesting observation.
They don't need policemen there.
That was the answer. We don't need them.
Yeah.
We have 200 million cameras with face recognition.
It's crazy. I interviewed. I'm trying to think where I interviewed the other day. Looking them up. Getting my feedback.
Yeah, I'm getting buzzing.
Yeah, it's my stupid phone. I can't bring my phone. If I put my phone in the microphone, it goes crazy.
So you're trying to figure out who you interviewed is what you can't even remember. You can't remember, can you?
No.
You probably did 20 interviews this week.
Yeah. It's probably up on our YouTube channel. Let me check for you. Check it out. But anyway, so if you had all these chickens, okay, and there was supposedly no one to work and process them, what would you do? Like if you're Chris Aceto, you own this plant. I mean, what would you do?
I'd let them bulk a little bit longer until you can bring someone in to process them.
Now, I'm assuming process means kill, right?
The right thing would be, of course, is so much liability. It's insane. Is to tell people we have chickens live. Can we give them out to you for free? I don't know.
How about that? How about sell them live or just? I can't imagine you can't get one person to kill the chickens. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't think that like Romano thinks that they should just open up and let everyone out again. Just keep the old people home. I'm not saying that believe me, I'm not downplaying this virus at all. I just think that the government is manipulating us during this time of this virus to take advantage.
Let me tell you, you know what's going to happen, Dave, if things stay, which they probably will. If things, because I know you live in a bubble. Yeah. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but
no, I know you do.
There's some businesses that will never take a hit during a recession. And your business, like sports supplements, would be one of those. People want to support the immune system. They're going to buy more stuff, not less stuff.
Sure.
Amazon, they're buying more stuff, not less stuff. Right. Grocery store, they're buying more stuff, not less stuff. But of course, the Gap is going out of business. Neiman Marcus is going out of business. Every small restaurant and retail type store is going out of business. I think at some point, if this goes like another month, the Dave Palumbo of, let's say, the Bronx, he's got some type of retail store, shoe store or clothing store, is going to say, F it, I'm opening up.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen is someone's going to come to arrest him or to shut him down. And people are going to see that who also have in other parts of the country, a shoe store, a small restaurant, a small retail store. And they're going to say, you know what, we support the guy who's the rebel. And it's going to create all kinds of problems because people are patient now to some degree, and there's a lot of fear now that forces people to be patient. But when and I said this 2 weeks ago on the show, when not toilet paper gets low, but chicken or steak gets low, when you go like 3 weeks in a row and you say, Amanda, I couldn't even get any chicken. Or when people start really running out of money, then the shit is going to hit the fan.
Right.
The shit is going to hit the fan.
I should believe it.
And the reason it's going to hit the fan in this country versus other countries is because we're not a top down like China, you know what I mean? You can lock people down and say, you better not come out.
Right.
This country, capitalism is really every man for himself. we built it. I built it, not the government built it.
Right.
So, the idea of the government telling you have to go out of business, because that's what indirectly the effect is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people are going to go.
I think that the government wants. That's what I think the government wants. I think it seems like they're almost pushing for that. I'm not saying Trump specifically. I'm saying whatever's behind all this. It seems like they're actually enjoying removing some of our rights. Hey, you know what? We'll take over some of their rights. They'll give up a little bit of it. I'm not saying we're not going to get it all back. We're going to get some of it back.
You never get it back. Once you take someone, it's like virginity. Once you take it, you never get it back.
That's right.
And once you take rights, the Patriot Act is a whole.
Sure.
You can't even you can't even get a money wire in this country for $50 without them saying, ID, where do you live, social security number.
Yep.
It wasn't like that before.
It won't be cash pretty soon. It'll be a cashless society. Oh, by the way, I remembered. I can't believe I forgot it. It's actually your client. It's your client. Peter Costello lives in.
Peter Costello, lives in Hong Kong.
Chris is like, oh yeah, I know him.
He's a New Yorker who lives in Hong Kong.
Yeah. He, I did a great interview with him. He had contacted me. I didn't know he was even over there, but he was living in mainland China for a while. Luckily, he left before all that craziness went on. A couple of years ago. Hong Kong is a little, even though China owns Hong Kong, it's completely different. It's like Vegas, it's a different setup there. But he's over there, and he said it's not that bad. It's they have restrictions and stuff like that, but it's not quite as horrible. I think New York City is probably worse than Hong Kong is.
Well, there's more deaths in New York City than any other place, any other locality on Earth due to coronavirus.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we do know that besides using Trenbolone, which I was kidding at the Arnold, it kills coronavirus. Ron Partlow reminded me that it kills bad genetics, so of course it kills coronavirus. So you can stack that with your disinfectants, and not only do you clean the lungs, but you clean the liver and kidneys.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Oh my God. Yeah, but he's it's got to be crazy over there, right? When it all came down, he must have been like, what's going on,
Yeah.
But it's interesting, what he's doing over there. I would never think to live in Hong Kong, although I've been there and I really liked it. So I guess Hong Kong is not quite as bad, but he was in actually really mainland China for a long time.
How long? Yeah, I know that.
Over a year, I think 2 years. He wants to move back, he said, though.
Yeah, he does.
212 Pro.
Yeah.
So how did you meet him?
What's that?
How did you meet him?
Dennis Rodman. I met him through, he contacted me somewhere, email, and said, I'd like to prep for a show. And I said, why not, or whatever. And he did, he won the Masters Classic, something. And you know me, I never know the shows. And then he did a 212 Pro show, and he made top 5 there. And he's been preparing for, God only knows, all these shows that keep getting.
Oh, you probably told me that. I said,
it's insane. It's insane.
Now, let me ask you this question: you think we're going to have a season? They keep pushing everything back.
I lowered it to 35% chances this week.
I heard a rumor that they were canceling the whole season, but I haven't heard anything.
Well, then I'm right because I've been
right after you told me that I heard it, but I don't believe the source.
I did text you. I texted you. I said, I always text you on my gut stuff. I texted you Trump would be impeached. Dave, I wish you had that text. That was so long ago.
Right.
That was like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I texted you 2 days or 3 days ago. I said, cancel the season. You said, is that you saying it, or do you hear anything? I said, no, just me saying it. I heard
from an unreliable source, so I'm not going to. So I don't think it's true. But
I heard it from here. I just took a guess, but every
people
day,
are saying, "Well, how are they going to hold the show? People not going to be able to watch it. There's no sponsors." I said, "They don't need sponsors with the amount of applications they get from people. They don't really need sponsors to run bodybuilding shows." Now, the question is, are they going to do it? I don't know. Nothing's. Every month they keep saying, "Oh, we're going to do one more month." Of course.
Here's the problem. here's the problem. The weird area. I'm promoting a show, and I just postponed it from June
July to
1, June
November.
1, June 1, just June 1 to August 18th.
Mhm.
I have to give the arena or the theater a deposit. A lot of places are going to say non-refundable.
Yeah, but a lot of places understand with the whole COVID thing that they're willing to work with people. I think.
They are until they're losing their shirts, because everyone's losing.
They're
their shirts.
all losing their shirts. Yeah,
We didn't talk about the horrible fact that the Arnold guys in the show have not been paid.
yeah, I did hear that too.
I mean, so if that's, you know what, I've run my whole life on red flags. With tenants, I get a call, that's a red flag. This guy's not going to pay rent. With bodybuilders, I talked to, Dave Palumbo, he thought I was flat. That's a red flag. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, he's not happy with, working with me because he doesn't like being flat. And when I heard that the Arnold people were having financial problems paying the bodybuilders, that's just another weird red flag that makes you sit up and say, if I'm a promoter, you know what? Traditionally, Dave, you can have a pro show, women's bikini, open, 212. And as you said, all the competitors, the entry fees, you pay for the show and then some.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is now, a lot of competitors won't travel. A lot of competitors are low on money. A lot of competitors' lives are in shambles. And I mean, so they're not training, and they're just, everyone I know is under monumental stress between like out of work or collecting unemployment, or, I hear it out of work and now I'm having problems because I'm out of work with my wife. It's like the worst time since, I guess I hate that cliche in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So you have a show and they're not going to have all those. There's no guarantee at all that, last year we had 1,000 competitors. We had it this year. Yeah, we got 200.
Right. No, I know what you're saying. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, I guess. And I don't think that they know the answer yet. I think that they're playing it by ear. Every time, another few weeks passes, they make another note or notice to the bodybuilders. I think it's prematurely to cancel the whole season right now, but I did hear that, but I don't, there was no validation from it. And to be honest with you, I didn't contact all my sources. So, because I didn't believe it. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, to be honest with you. And people have been asking me, and I'm like, train like you have your show coming up. Because you know what? Yeah. If it does come up and you didn't do it, you're going to be mad that you stopped in the middle. So keep training. The worst case scenario is you could take pictures. And, nowadays, Instagram pictures are probably worth more than a trophy at a show is, right? Yeah. If you look really good, you put up a bunch of pictures on Instagram, you probably can make money from that, whether it be from a supplement company or from, getting coaching, jobs and stuff like that, or just from getting more followers. So it's never a bad time to diet and get in shape, and just the rebound off of like a good contest diet will help propel you into new levels of growth. So I wouldn't not diet because you're all depressed about the fact that we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, in the world. So eventually they're going to open up things. Here's the problem, the business is supposed to start opening up, I guess, May 1st. Is that what I'm hearing?
Some places.
Most places. But
Georgia, the gym's open in a couple days. Tomorrow.
Yeah. I think in some places they haven't even closed the gym. I saw Victor Prisk working out on Instagram. I don't know where he's been training. But the bottom line is that it's still going to be, do you want to go to the gym? Do you want to go to these places? So I think the businesses are still going to hurt or be hurting because people are not going to necessarily be patronizing them as much as they would, because everyone's afraid to go out,
Yeah.
And the weird thing is that the people who have had corona are not even guaranteed that they actually have immunity against it.
I saw that.
So it's kind of wacky. Now they're saying there's like 7 or 8 strains of this COVID-19.
I saw that too.
Which is typified by different symptoms. Like some people have a GI version, whereas some people have a respiratory version. Some people have a skin version of it. And that says to me, in my mind, my scientifically geared mind, that this virus, which we know is engineered, is mutating. And when you make things that are not present in nature and you give this virus tools and weapons that it didn't have before, when it mutates, it might be very, very hard to create a vaccine to this thing.
Well, I think that, you know what, I think, and this is total conjecture, that like the governments, everyone shut down. So what people have been told, I mean, they must have been scared out of their brains to shut everything down in every single country in the world, with the exception of maybe 4: Sweden, and I think Belarus, and I think Brazil.
Belarus. Well, the Bible's be moving to Belarus now.
No, but to close everything down. I mean, we wouldn't close everything down if a nuclear bomb, like I said, if a nuclear bomb went off in Belarus, huge one, we'd still be working every day.
Yeah.
Would be like, well, nuclear, whatever, strike goes into the stratosphere, blah, 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 clouds pull the nuclear, blah, 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 would be at the gym training.
Right.
New York Pro would be in 2 weeks. So,
look,
I mean, somebody scared somebody.
People are still making food, okay, even though they're killing chickens off. The mails systems are working. Amazon's still shipping, right? So theoretically, the I guess industries that are producing the supplies that we're using are still working. People are just afraid to go out, which to me, that whole fear mongering, that they've created towards people, that even when they do open these stores, no one's going to want to go near each other. It's bad enough that we were all staring at this cell phone like this, and no one talks to each other. Now you can't have any kind of even relation to anyone. You're afraid to even say hello to someone. So I just think that smells of like manipulation to me. That's all. And I'm not saying that, once again, I am not downplaying this virus, because I believe that there is a virus out there, and that it is deadly to certain people. Yeah. It's not deadly to a lot of people, but it is deadly to enough people that no one wants to get it. So you have to take that seriously. But the bottom line is that I think they're using this as a manipulative tool, okay, to get us used to giving up a lot of rights, and eventually
what rights do we have left? What rights do we have left?
I don't know.
What ones do we have to give up that we?
Yeah. Well, once they take away the money, look. Once people can't afford to buy food, okay, and they have to depend on the government to give them money for food or provide them with food, you're going to see a lot of desperate people. That's not going to be good. So, all right, let's not talk about anything depressing anymore. We've already played that out. I want to talk about Paul Dillett today. Last week, we talked about Kevin Levrone, who, by the way, texted me today and was very, very, I guess he just listened to it. He was very happy. He said that he wanted to thank both of us for doing such a great job, and that, he really appreciated us, and that was very nice of what we said about him. And I said, well, it was all true.
Yeah, so, it's nothing that's not true. I mean, it's no big deal. It's all true.
I want to talk about another freak that a lot of people don't talk about, Paul Dillett, because people don't realize how big this guy was back in the day, and how freak. Yeah. Tell me what was your first encounter with Paul?
Before anyone's.
I know.
Paul came to LA with Winston Roberts.
Explain who he is.
Winston Roberts was a Olympia judge. I think he was ran bodybuilding in Canada. He may have also, he was tight with Ben because they were both from, I think Winston was from, I'm not sure if he was from Toronto or Montreal. And I was in Golds when Dillett first came. And Winston introduced me to Paul. And, you see a lot of big people, and, everyone's introduced you in Golds as like the next big thing. And I just wrote him off as a joke. He was 325. He was 325. And he was very chunky, very watery.
Right.
And let's see, the year was, I can't remember. But the first year he did, so he got ready quickly for the North Americas, and he missed the weigh-in. Paul will tell you. And Joe, I think Joe had already signed him to a contract. And he missed the weigh-in, not by a lot, but they said you can't compete, and he went nuts.
Oh, was it like a Cedric deal?
No, Cedric, no, because Cedric never missed no meetings. That was it
was kind of like, but Cedric didn't go crazy. He just took it, like,
Yeah, he took it, unfortunately, which he shouldn't have. With
what was that year? That was 91.
That was 1990, I think. So
that was the year that Ray McNeil beat him.
Yes, and he went nuts, and he said, "Go call Joe Weather," and tell him, and they let him weigh in. And listen, he was not ready to win the North Americas, as freaky as he was, because he hadn't even been like at it for a long period of time.
Sure.
And then I think it was the next year.
So Ray McNeil won. Paul was second that year. And then, we know the story about Ray. Ray got shot by his wife, Sally McNeil, who's now serving a life sentence or something like that. But so Dillett didn't win. Everyone thought it was a sure thing,
Yeah, but I knew it wasn't a sure thing because I just knew that he didn't have the muscle maturity yet.
Right.
And he had dieted. He hadn't gotten shape yet.
Mm-hmm.
He hadn't. I think that was his first show or second show.
That's crazy.
So then the next year he came and stayed at least I'd say a month in Maine with me.
Oh, I didn't know you helped Dillett.
Yep, for the North Americas.
I didn't know that.
And
he stayed with you for a month?
Yeah, on the beach.
Really?
Yeah. His cardio was he'd walk because he had asthma.
Yeah.
So he was on like constant
inhalers.
Yeah, so his metabolism was all up high all the time anyway. And he'd talk with the wheeze, right? Yeah. He'd take a, he was kind of like NASA-like in that he would go into long diatribes about anything.
He had a very soft voice too.
Yeah. And Dave, I wish. I have some Polaroids. I don't know where they are that I took, like Bob Gruskin. I took it in my kitchen that he was just completely out of your mind, wacky looking.
Right.
And of course he couldn't hit it back down. I'd want to pose. I'd say, Paul, hit a shot. Paul couldn't pose like.
Yeah, it was like he couldn't.
He'd get winded.
No, but he couldn't. He also couldn't pose because he just didn't have like body awareness or something like that.
Yeah. Like he'd have to like okay, throw up front bicep and you keep it here and it'd shake a lot.
Arms though, I mean, they were crazy, right?
Oh, they were probably like 23 at that time.
Yeah, and he did like puny weights, right?
Yeah. No, we went to the gym, and my friend was the manager. We went to two different gyms. We went to Mighty's in Saco, Maine, and we went to World Gym in Westbrook, Maine. And when we'd go to the Westbrook Worlds, my friend was a manager.
Right.
And he said, was I supposed to make Paul a carb drink shake? I said, no, you weren't.
he was eating extra food.
But the whole talk was that he was gigantic. Yeah. And then the second part of that talk is like, you saw that he's using, 2 plates on the, on the bench press. I said, yeah. Pull downs with like 80 pounds lat pull downs. Yeah. Side laterals with 30s. Yeah. I know. He just did his. He was huge.
The problem is he had shoulder problems too. I don't even know how
he had bad shoulder problems, really bad shoulder problems.
Yet he didn't train heavy. I don't know how he got.
That's why he couldn't train. No, but he had shoulder injury problems, like when his shoulders killed when he was in Maine.
Oh, really? Even back then, huh?
Yeah, way back then. He'd already been at it a little bit, but and then he. I think his girlfriend came and stayed a little bit with us too. Can you imagine?
Yeah, what a crew you had there.
Yeah. And then he was setting up like he hadn't even won the North Americas, but like Matarazzo was setting up seminars for him.
Oh, really?
With him and like I'd drive him down to Connecticut or I can't even remember Connecticut and New York and Boston.
Seminars, no one even knew who he was though, right?
No, and he would show up with the black and white Hutskins pants because he had great legs and huge calves.
God.
And he'd have a tank top on, so he'd have no problem. People would love him because he'd show up, with a tank. Yeah. And the thing about Paul is he, in his mind, like when I first met him in that Gold's Venice when he was like 325, in his mind, he was going to be a top guy.
Right.
So, a lot of people would say that's delusional because some people think that, they are delusional. But he always just had in his mind, like, he hadn't won the North Americas yet, but like, Olympia, he's talking about Olympia. It's like,
I'm sure Joe Weider's telling him all that stuff too.
Yeah, maybe.
When Joe Weider said you might win the Olympia one year, that's a nice little validation there.
Yeah. I hadn't seen Paul for eons. I ran into him. I think I was leaving Germany somewhere, and I looked, and there's Paul. And the first thing I noticed was the screwed up shoulders.
Yeah.
Because his arms.
He was like me. He was like me.
His shoulders are just like it. The arms are like the shoulders.
But his shoulders were like that right early on in his career.
Yeah.
Mine was like that early on.
Yeah, he had bad knees too.
Oh, he did. I didn't know that. I wonder if it's just like it was part of his genetic freakishness.
Yeah, he was genetically freaky.
Did you see it? Have you seen pictures of him like when he was younger? Did he grow like when
he was Dave, he was the skinniest kid.
Oh,
it was a joke.
Really?
You know what? Because you can ask him. He came to Gold's Venice, and I don't mean it in a negative way. He had a big ego.
Mm-hmm.
Because here he is with Winston Roberts. Winston's probably telling him, he's going to be a top bodybuilder. Right. And Winston, I think, had already taken him to see Joe. Mm. And so they show up at Gold's Venice, and I'm with Laura, and Laura says, I know you. And he starts laughing. She says, you're Paul. And she's like, you were skinny 2 years ago, like 100, he was like nothing, like a skinny.
Was she from where he's from in Canada?
Yeah. So he just exploded. And, he used to be at the gym, and she knew him somehow. And I think he had gained I gained like 100 and I don't know, 100 pounds or something.
In like a year, right?
Yeah. No time. It's like a LeBron.
That's nuts. And for a tall guy, because he was like almost 6'2", right?
Oh,
he had good legs. There was no
tremendous
tall guy.
Legs, tremendous everything. Hamstrings, glutes.
Did he squat? I can't even imagine seeing him squat now.
Leg press, leg extension.
Well, you got genetics, man. If he would have come around at any other time, how can the guy not be? Would he have been Mr. Olympia today?
6'3", 280 on stage with a small waist. And he had a lot of really good looks. I lost track of the
year after he turned pro, he was 6th at the Olympia and 4th at the Arnold. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And the guys he lost to at the Arnold was Wheeler, Labrada, and Vince Taylor. So
yeah,
the chump lineup,
The best he was the year that LeBron won, Flex was second. I think, was he third or something at that Arnold? He was phenomenal. He's a freak.
Was that
arguably could have been higher. I think the problem was just his presentation. When people say you don't have good presentation. It was third.
Yeah, in '96. The one I helped.
Crazy. And I think what happened is after he had the diuretic issue.
Oh, he almost died, right?
I never spoke to him about it, but his, when you have an issue like that, you step back a little bit.
It scares the crap out of you.
Yeah. So I think, I think he stepped back. Mm-hmm. But he was a freak. He was just phenomenal.
When you think about him, he was the only guy on stage who could stand next to Dorian Yates, size-wise.
Yeah, and he, Jay and him lived in the same complex. I told you that, right? When Jay won the...
when he lived with Lee Priest?
No, further back. When Jay won the 2000 New York Pro Night of Champions.
Okay.
And Jay would get up, probably like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., probably send me some pictures or something, mail them,
right.
Go do cardio, come home, eat a meal or two, go back to the gym, training session number 1, come home. And when he'd come home, he'd see Dillett pulling out with his Benz or whatever he had. He had some crazy car. And he'd be driving up to Gold's in Venice, which was really far from where they were living, to train with Charles.
That's funny.
And Jay used to tell me, he said, the quote was, "Mark my words, I will beat this guy. I am not letting someone beat me after I'm coming home from my second workout, technically. It's cardio and, first workout, and the guy's just getting up." I said, well, people, so Jay used him as motivation.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. That's crazy. It's funny because I really got to know Paul because he worked for Metrics. Connolly thought he was an absolute freakazoid. He was going to.
He was.
Connolly was training him. Connolly, you got to come to Metrics, Jim. I'm going to train you, because he saw how light Paul trained. He goes, this guy trained heavy and ate right, So he put him on some crazy. He was doing deadlifts with Paul, and Paul actually won the Night of Champions at the '99 right there, and he looked pretty good.
Yeah, he looked good. He was very full of that show.
He had too many injuries. That's what Connolly told me, because he's a lot of injuries.
He did have a lot of injuries. He had both shoulders that were weak. The knees were weak. And I think he actually had lower back problems too. So part of his not ever like winning in an Arnold or Olympia probably can be attributed to pain.
Right. But I think he would have won at any other. He was when he was competing, those guys were just amazing. Think about who he was competing against. But with his structure, I think if he was able to present it better, he probably could have beat some of those guys, because he was bigger than everyone else.
Yeah. No, that's why I gave that example of when LeBron won. I said, arguably, he could have placed higher, so that means beat Flex or LeBron. But the problem is he had, poor presentation. He knows it. Terrible
presentation.
Between, they were doing the quarter turns in those days, and LeBron and Wheeler could stand tight, everything sharp as can be, for 10 minutes each turn.
He couldn't last 10 seconds.
Yeah, and Paul didn't have that type of stamina. And, even the way they hit their poses, front double, front lat spread, Paul kind of shook when he hit the poses.
Yeah,
if you look at videos.
Right up there, yeah, like there was something wrong with him, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes his eyes would roll back in the right.
You're right.
He would hit the last one.
He was the nicest guy too.
Yeah. Everyone liked Paul. Everyone liked Paul.
Except Sean.
Yeah, I guarantee. I know for a fact, Dave, when he was up, he used to talk about Sean when he hadn't won the North Americas yet, and it was about what Sean was talking about him. Like, Sean may be big, maybe tall. He's still, a cake baking, all Sean's cliches. The bigger guy's not as good as the shorter guy. He's got gaps in his physique. And
right. So he was.
And here's Dillett, 1 year ago, was 100 pounds less.
Now, you worked with him and he won this pro card. How come he didn't stick with you? Is it because the whole diuretic thing that Chad kind of had going on there?
No. I just worked with him. That was a weird.
He stayed at your house for a month. So what happened?
Well. Here's how it happened: is that he was in one of these. Like, Weeda had him under contract,
right?
And I think Weeda had said, "You have to win this show," and he got on the phone somehow with Laura. And Laura said, "Can Paul come out to stay? He's from the Caribbean. I'm from the Caribbean." And it's like, why not? So he came out for a while, and I think he went back with a couple weeks out or something. And I don't even know what year that was, Dave. 90 something, 90. What year was that? Could have that been when he won the North Americas? 92. Yeah, 92. And then what would he do? I don't know.
What I'm saying is, why did he stick with you? Obviously, he won.
Well, for the same reason people don't stick with me now.
I think it was because of the whole Chad Nichols thing with the diuretics. Remember, weren't they diuretic testing or something like that?
No. Because no, they weren't. Chad didn't come onto the scene till like 98.
So then what the that's weird.
Because there were still gurus in LA, dude. You know what I mean? There were still people.
Yeah.
I
don't think many use gurus. You were kind of like the only one, really. There was how many gurus were there back then?
There were people in Gold's Venice, and the people will fill your head with, the same thing I'm hearing now 30 years later is, Chris doesn't give you enough attention.
Right. But yeah, but who's really diving people back then aside from you? I mean, as far as coaching goes.
I don't know, Dave. I don't know.
There really wasn't. I mean, I don't know. Was there anyone in Gold?
There were people. I forget their names. There were people prepping people. I mean, Lou Ferrigno got prepped the year I knew he was going to crash and burn, 92.
Didn't Romano prep him?
No. The guy who prepped him was, if you said his name, I'd say that's him, because you could see him getting Lou Ferrigno worse by the week. Look at that shot.
How crazy is that shot? Yeah, that was a great shot. I remember that one.
Look at the arm, dude. And that's before Photoshop was available.
That's before Synthol too. That's a real arm. That's an absolutely real arm. He was a freak.
Yeah, total freak.
I think he didn't really get his due.
No, he did get his due. He was a freak. Even, he was a freak this way.
We talk about Wheeler, and we talk about Sean Ray, and we talk about Cormier, and we talk about Nasser. You don't ever hear Dillett being brought up, but he was just as good as all those guys.
You know who thought he had Mr. Olympia material all over, who loved them?
Who?
McGuff. McGuff thought he was overrated.
Oh, really?
Underrated, underappreciated. Which he was.
Yeah.
I think his presentation just killed him.
Because
you could get away with it this day and age, because you'd come out and they'd say front double, side chest. Sometimes when you come out right now at the Olympia, right, they don't ask for all the poses. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at him now. He looks like a mere mortal now.
In those days, they would ask for the quarter turns. You know what I mean? And go and go and go and go and go. And if you couldn't,
Haley was calling out those poses. Yeah, he would make those guys work their butts off.
So he'd be exposed in round one, and then they probably wouldn't appreciate him in the muscularity round of round two.
Right. He definitely was ahead of his time, man. This is a great shot. Hold on, let me show you this one. Look at that shot.
Yeah.
I mean, small waist, great taper. Look at the arms, legs.
Yeah, look at the arms. Come on, dude.
And his conditioning was really good all the time.
All the time.
Because he probably had, like you said, a freaky metabolism.
Yeah, he did have a very good metabolism.
Is that Mr. Olympia today? I mean,
yeah, look at the arms, dude. Look at the arms.
And they're real. You could tell that's a real arm,
Well, that's why, Dave, if you there's a picture I posted on Instagram of Jay's back before the New York Pro in 2000.
Yeah.
Because and look how absolutely crazy, sick, gnarly Jay's hamstring, glutes, and hamstrings, glutes, Christmas tree is 2000, because he knew if he didn't have all the crazy detail that he wouldn't be able to get by Dillett.
Yeah.
So it was a good strategy, for that New York Pro.
Absolutely. Well, Jay was a good strategist. What's the word I'm looking for?
He was very strategic. Just change it. Very strategic.
Look at that shot.
I know.
I mean, when you look at that shot, you're like, that guy must be Mr. Olympia, right? I mean, come on.
Yep.
And his leg, people say, "Wow, he probably doesn't have legs." No, but his legs were as good as his upper body.
His hamstrings are off the hook.
Hamstrings, glutes, he had everything.
You know what? You won't find. Ask anyone who was in Gold's Venice, Dave. Jay would laugh at this, and not in a make fun of him way. Cormier would say the same thing. He would always have a skin tight T-shirt, like a Hanes T-shirt, but a V-neck one,
right,
on with the white towel around his neck.
Yeah, everyone told him the towel.
In the gym.
Look at that shot, Chris. Look at that lat hanging off there.
And that one's morph. That picture.
Oh, you think it is?
Yeah, that's Photoshop. But in that tank top, I mean, you'd see Wheeler training there, and he'd look twice as big as Wheeler because he's wider and he's 6'3". Think about it, he's 6'3".
It's crazy. I don't think that was a morph shot, Chris, to be honest with you.
I would love to have. You know what? It's funny. You don't see any interviews with his competitive days. Like now, like doing a retro.
Well, you know what the problem is? He's he runs his own organization now, so
no one has any balls to interview him.
But when he first started it, and he was getting along with everyone, I interviewed him a lot. He was on the radio show all the time because he's a good guest.
Yeah, that's why I said it'd be great to hear because he if you want stories, he was all because he lived with Lee Priest.
Yeah.
He trained with and good friends with Chris, trained and good friends with Flex.
He knew all those guys. Yeah, he was tight with those guys. And he lived the whole bodybuilding lifestyle in Venice there for years. And but you're right. They used to. I remember that because someone telling me that when Wheeler would get his, whatever new bends he would get, for when he
he'd have to run out and get this matching.
I'd have to try to get the same one, and they'd have to. And Flex was into this whole $35,000 speaker system that they would put in the car, and then he'd have to go do it too. But I think Flex made more money than he did. It was like a whole challenge thing, right?
He was. He was not only. He would have so many stories because he was not only good friends, I believe, with Peter McGuff, but he was very good friends with Joe Weider.
Joe probably loved him, right?
Yeah, loved him. I mean, they talked a lot.
Well, he was, he's a very intelligent guy. He's not like a dummy, So I think it's deceptive. You start carrying on a conversation with him, like, holy shit, this guy's a really smart guy, who's very educated and has good insights into things. And I think that it's like the old gentle giant thing, you kind of see this physique, it's intimidating looking, and then you start talking to him. People used to say that about me. It's like, oh, you're very intimidating looking, but then I sit down and talk to you, you're very personable, So,
yeah, the lady wouldn't buy you the toilet paper for $20 if you're 320. She'd be intimidated by you.
She would have been scared. She might have just given it to me for free. So, yeah, so I think that I wanted to do a little tribute on Paul, and just because I think that there was something that just we didn't see a lot of. He was just not around. His last show was in I didn't even know he competed in 06. Did you? Montreal Pro Show?
He had a contract with Muscle Tech, and they just
they made him compete.
Yeah, I mean he prepared for 50 to 60 days, I'm sure.
Oh, really? Yeah. I don't even remember. He looked terrible.
He still looked. He didn't look like himself. He still looked impressive, but he didn't diet for 70, 60 days. He trained and dieted. So he went from scratch.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not having trained.
It was like a transformation thing that he probably did with him, right? From Muscle Tech, before Muscle Tech, after Muscle Tech type of thing.
No.
Interesting. Well, when you have that's called genetics. If you don't have those genetics, and then you try to compete in bodybuilding, and you say to yourself, "What am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I out of my fucking mind competing against guys like this?" Because I didn't have those genetics. You didn't have those genetics, but in our minds, we said we can outwork them. We'll outwork those guys, right? That's how we deceived ourselves. That we could beat someone like that. But I told you, when I went to Lavroni's house in '96 and I saw him in front of me, I said, "I'll never beat him." I'll say, "I'll never beat him."
Dave, you would have been boozled. You probably could have came and stayed at my house and gone to that same World Gym, and the manager would say, "Dave was in here this morning doing squats with 8 plates for reps," and then he'd be bewildered by saying, "Dillett was here doing 2 plates leg press," and I said, "Yeah, Dillett's going to kill him in the show." I said, "No, Dave's going to outwork him. I can tell," because my friend would be from that same mindset. Right.
And once in a while, you would beat a guy like him because he'd just come in out of shape or something would go wrong. But if the guy ever nailed it, you knew that guy was just waiting in the wings to destroy you. I remember when Orville Burke first came up, and I was, he was in New York, I was in New Yorker.
Oh yeah,
and I beat him a couple times, on the way up, and I said, "Man, if this guy puts it together,
he did put it together.
I'm in trouble." and he did, and in 96, when Jay won the nationals, he was third, I was fourth. And,
Who was second?
Tom Prince.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was certainly the biggest guy in the class, bigger than all four of those guys. And just definitely the hardest guy in the class, but I just structurally didn't have that structure. And, Jay is so wide and Prince is super wide and Orville's got that ridiculous waist and crazy, V-taper, even though it wasn't the Orville Burke we had seen, but how do you compete against those guys? You can't beat them. It's like, and when you go to talk to a judge, like when I go to talk to Steve after, what is Steve going to say to me? He's like, you fucking looked awesome.
He said, you look great. You're big and hard.
Yeah. What I don't know what to tell you. You can't give me an answer because he knows that, I can only beat guys that are off, that are structurally like that. So Dillett was he was made for bodybuilding, but, it is what it is, So he came around in a time when it was super crazy competitive.
Yeah. I think that was that we talked about last week, the Arnold lineup that year when Levrone, Wheeler, Dillett, which we didn't even talk about. Andreas Munzer was in the show, I think.
Yep.
To get by Andreas Munzer, you would have to be peeled.
Right. But Munzer was a guy I would put into a category of not genetically as blessed as these guys, but the work ethic to get the level of conditioning that he had.
How would he do today?
He would beat a lot of guys just because he was the most conditioned guy. He was never out of shape. He was the most conditioned guy.
Yeah, super dense.
I was one of the hardest guys always on stage. And he made me look like I wasn't probably even that hard, because his cross striations in his quads, remember how? Yeah. And his triceps.
Yeah. He's another Mondays, chest, shoulders, tri, Tuesdays, back by, Wednesdays, legs, repeated.
One of those guys.
Just 6 on, 1 off. I saw him in Vancouver in like 90 something, 94.
Right.
And I asked him, I didn't even bother to ask him about diet. I just said, how do you split your training? I knew he'd say something like that. Chest, shoulders, try, back by, legs, repeat it. Chest, shoulders, try, back by.
Look at that shot.
Yeah, I'd like to see him harder there. Look at the pecs.
And the triceps.
It's insane. Look at the shoulder striations.
People don't realize.
Dave, put up some leg strided pictures of him or back.
Defined. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
When Mike Francois won the 95 Arnold on his treadmill, he had a picture of he had a picture of
Munzer.
Yes, it was an 8x10. And when he did the treadmill, or no, it was a stair climber in his house every morning, either treadmill or stair climber, he'd look at that picture, and he'd look at that picture every day and say, "That is who I have to beat in terms of just density and condition."
He's right. I mean, because think about it. How many people were able to actually accomplish that? But he structurally wasn't the best guy. He just was fucking nuts.
Yeah, but his structure wasn't bad. It's just that he was going up against Dillett, Wheeler, and
right.
Look at the people.
I'm going to pull up a leg shot of him.
The leg shot is nuts.
It's glued to a crazy too. Oh, look at this. Look at this shot I found. Right?
Yeah.
Crazy. Quad. This is like what you see like in the magazines. You're like, that's what I want to be. I got to have quads like that.
Well, I mean, that's pre-phoniness filters and Instagram, and I mean, look at that detail. That's just what it is.
He was so hard and so dry. It was crazy. I remember seeing him. I remember seeing him on stage. I remember seeing him in the magazines. Like I was like, everyone. You could not be not impressed with it, right?
Yeah.
He was just nuts looking. It's a shame we lost him. I'm sure his extreme ways of getting in shape probably didn't, bode well for his health, but man, was he impressive.
Yeah, he was crazy.
Good, really good poser too.
Oh yeah, tremendous routine.
You tell this guy did not leave any stone unturned. He every detail. He was a bodybuilder, through and through. That's all he wanted to do.
Look at the quads there, dude.
Yeah, 6 shot, right? I mean, had he beat that, I mean that would be Mr. Olympia today, wouldn't it? That shot. How does Brandon Curry beat that, right?
Well, show his back so people know what his back double looks like.
I will.
Because his back was tremendous. Tremendous.
Let me get a back shot of him. I'll look for a good one. Oh, wait, he's from Germany, right?
Yeah. Same place. I think same exact town as Arnold.
Oh, was he Austria or Germany?
Graz.
Oh, he was Austrian. I didn't even know.
think so. Maybe I got it wrong. I'm channeling my John Hansen now.
Let's check out the shot. It's him and Milos. Milos will love that. I put this up.
Yeah, you say I talked to him that my legs were just as hard. Yeah.
Milos looks good there.
Yeah. Milos is like, I was on 400 units of insulin. How many insulin shots did Milos need to look like that? Well, Milos was a nutcase like with the conditioning like Andreas.
Yeah, Milos. Many shows had tremendous conditioning. Tremendous. I was at a lot of those shows.
But
I was at a lot of shows that he was at. That there were so many shows that I saw him at that I thought, wow, he should have placed a lot higher.
This kid I went to medical school with looked just like him. He's a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills now. I used to call him Munzer because I mean he was like a clone of the guy, not physique wise, facially speaking.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be crazy shocked. I should find a picture.
I don't even think Milos. I don't even think Andreas Munzer won any pro shows. Can you believe it?
Right. I remember back in the day, you didn't need to. You had to just place like top 3 or top
I know,
5.
but the fact is, with that body, he never put up a back shot. He never won any pro shows.
Isn't that crazy when you think about it?
And he did a lot of them.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
It just sounds ripped. The name, right? Munzer. Zipper. Munzer.
Let's see if I can find a better shot. I'm trying to find like a good pose from behind. There was a couple behind poses, but they weren't good ones. Because guys didn't pose their glutes all the time. Sometimes back in the day, wasn't like it is today.
Well, because you can win on glutes now.
Oh, I think most shows are won on glutes. Wouldn't you say?
That's why I call it a glute and ham show.
No, but it's true.
Yeah, no, I agree. I always say if you have the greatest glutes and hams that we've seen in the last 4 years, and you have like small arms and flat pecs, and you probably place high in any show. Yeah. They'll say the guy from New Hampshire with the glutes and hams. My God, what's his name? I don't know, but he had the best glutes and hams. What place he get first?
Here's a good shot. You'll like this one. How crazy is that shot? Look at his back.
Look at the arms.
Look at the spinal rectors.
Tons of volume, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him. Tons of volume. A lot of sets. 30 sets.
Oh, was he really?
Oh, yeah. I said heavy, and not light either. Higher reps and heavy.
Yeah, he pushed his body hard though. Yeah. Definitely.
He was a machine.
Yeah. Underappreciated, another guy underappreciated. But
I mean, look at that back, dude. Come on.
Had he probably not died, he probably would have been remembered a little bit more. I think because he was cut down in the prime of his career, really.
Yeah.
Same thing with Momo Benaziza. I mean, Momo was at the prime of his career when he died. He just won the show, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I like the fact that, during these quarantine times that there's really no shows going on, that we can actually look back and kind of feature some top bodybuilders of the past, who were impressive that a lot of people didn't know, but that we had access to seeing. And some of you, obviously you trained, Paul. I thought that was, something I didn't even realize that you had trained him for that North American. You're deceptive because sometimes, I talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, I used to work with Chris. I'm like, you did? because we don't talk about all your clients.
It's like a Bob thing. It's like a Bob Gruskin thing. Like Jeff King said, we on the broadcast, we're like, little did I know that I got second at the show, and
right
20 years later I found out,
Bob helped him.
Yeah, Bob helped the guy who beat me.
People love that the Bob Gruskin tribute.
I sent you that picture of Lee Haney.
Oh my God!
And that was when Lee Haney won the Junior Mr. America, and I think he was 20, Dave, in that picture. Maybe 21.
I don't have the picture to show you guys, but
and he said Lee posted it, and it's because someone sent it to me, and it said by the late Bob Gruskin, photo by the late Bob Gruskin. So
he took that picture. Oh, Bob took that picture.
Bob took that picture.
Didn't you say Haney used to call Bob though?
Yes. Haney called Bob, asked Lee about doing the Atlantic City, his first pro show, where Lee did not win. Greg DeFaro won.
Oh wow!
And he looked crazy. And do you know who Greg DeFaro is?
Yeah.
From New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Lee got second or third or fourth or somewhere in there.
Right.
I don't know. There's some story. But Lee did. I think it's like Bob was there and Lee didn't feel good, and Bob said, "Have a hamburger and some fries or something," and and whatever. The next day after he had eaten that, he looked like a maniac.
Sure. Yeah.
So Dave, no degrees of separation. Lee Haney gained a lot of his training and diet info from Fred Hatfield.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Fred,
Dr. Squat.
Yeah, Dr. Squat. My grandmother from Italy, I've said this on the show before.
Yeah.
She had a triple decker. She lived on the first floor of an apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
And Fred's mother lived for 25 years on the third floor. And my grandmother used to tell me when I was getting into weights, "Oh, like Mabel's son." You should talk to my grandmother. She sounds like Bob Gruskin, but with an Italian accent. She said, "Christopher, if you should talk to Mabel's son." I'm like, "Who's Mabel?" It turned out to be Fred Hatfield.
Oh my God!
He used to come up there all the time to help because he was living in Connecticut.
Did you ever talk to him?
No, because I was I was Mr. I know what I'm doing.
It was like me living around Bob Gruskin. I didn't even know. Yeah.
But my grandmother's from Italy, and where's Fred Hatfield? I forget where he's from, but his mother is not born and raised in the United States. So she's like my grandmother's friend of 25 years, lives on the third floor.
Shit, that's funny.
"Christopher, you got to go speak to Mabel's son." It turned out to be Fred Hatfield, who would go on to...
Did you ever talk to Hatfield after that, ever?
Never.
We should get Hatfield on the show one of these days.
Ask him. Dave, get him on.
Yeah. We'll get him on like one of these like night shows.
Ask
Dave. Mabel, your mother?
I don't know his mother's name is not Mabel.
I know, I'm kidding around.
But she lived on Hammond Avenue in Portland, Maine. I forget what number, like 40, and she lived for 25 years on the third floor.
Probably next door to her too. Yeah. Oh my God.
In fact, Dave, I'm not making this up. My grandmother used to say sometimes, Fred. I didn't know which Fred. Which Fred? He's a fat pig. I swear to she said,
he was a powerlifter, right?
Yeah, my grandmother didn't know.
Yeah.
She'd say, he lifts weights, but he's a fat pig. Quote, fat pig.
Oh my God.
It's the same grandmother, Dave. When we once went to an Italian restaurant with my grandmother, she was probably 92 at the time.
Yeah.
And it was an Italian restaurant. And in her day, Italian restaurants were only owned by Italians. I mean, you weren't like a Greek person with an Italian restaurant or like some type of American guy who went to a cooking school in Connecticut and got a chef license and opened up an Italian restaurant. So we went to an Italian restaurant, me, my wife, my father, and my grandmother. And the waitress came and the waitress said to my grandmother, "How's the food?" And there was a big bang under the table. It was my father kicking my grandmother. And she said, "It tastes like shit." And I remember after that comma, she said, "This is not Italian food."
Oh my God. That's like
This is not Italian food. This is not Italian food.
Here's Hatfield, by the way, for those of you who don't know who Fred Hatfield is. Squatting 1,014 pounds.
Dave, you have to quiz him. What street did you used to go visit your mother on for 25 years?
So, yeah.
Text him.
Anyway, all right. We're getting to that time again. I don't know how
Dave, that's why I say, last week I said, when we had LeBron and the first real outsider I'm serious, with an eye, besides his training partner, who ever saw Kevin LeBron was me. And actually, the first was Paul DeMeo and being like, holy smokes. Second was me and saying, oh my gosh. I said I felt like Forrest Gump when he sits on the bench and history goes through. That's why when Lee Haney is only 1 degree separation from Fred Hatfield.
Right. Who's 1 degree of separation from your grandmother.
And now we got Dillett.
There you go. Dillett stayed at your house for a month. All right. Well, guys, if you have any suggestions or you want us to talk about any former bodybuilders that were from back in the day and you don't know that much about them, I'm sure we probably know something about them, or we know someone who does, that's for sure. So hit us up in the comments below and let us know who you want us to talk about next. Seeing that we really have no shows to talk about, I'd rather do some of these kind of historical pieces. And I know you guys like the stories because a lot of you guys were not around and you're too young, or even if you were too old, you kind of enjoy the stories because they kind of bring back some good memories and put a smile on your face. The best thing, Chris, people have been telling me is that, you know what? I'm depressed. My mother's in the hospital with COVID. I lost my job. And you know what? I watched your show and I feel so good. You know, I'm in such a good mood. I'm such you lifted me up out of my spirits. There's a kid in the hospital, actually. I don't remember his name. The guy was supposed to remind me. I wanted to give a shout out to him because I know he's not doing well. And his parents, listen to our show and it picks up their spirits a lot. So, I want to just send out my prayers, and obviously he's going to pull through this and get over this problem. And hopefully, we gave you a couple laughs and a couple of good, historical reminders. And when we hit after hours, I'll mention it again. So I'll get Jimmy the Bull to lift you. But people have been loving Jimmy the Bull. Jimmy the Bull has been going nuts during this quarantine. And so if you guys want to see his antics, you have to watch our After Hours podcast that takes place every Tuesday evening. So check that out. For now, though, we are out of time. Until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.